Good evening, friends of Gig, and friends in general. And thank you for sharing your time with us tonight. It's a great privilege for me to spend this next 30, 40, 50 minutes with you. And I look forward to sharing something, and I hope it brings value to your life. We will have a few minutes at the end of the session for questions and answers if you would like more information. And as Jasper rightly said, I've recently authored a book, of which I'm very excited about, and I'm very excited to speak about it, and I'm very excited to share this content because it's been on my heart for a very long time. So just to give you a bit of context about myself, and I've always wanted to know how I can get more out of life. So I was really fascinated, and I learned as much as I could about psychology and as about the biological factors that will enable me and equip me to get a better quality of life. So this was really my life purpose without me realizing it. And I studied a lot of material for most of my adult life. And about 2 years ago, I felt prompted to start sharing this message with a bigger audience and more people. And this is when I started writing this specific book. So, as Jasper alluded, I'm an adventurer. I love exploring. I'm a rock climber. I'm a trail runner. I do mountain biking. I love exploring physical territory, geographical territory, but I also like exploring mental territory. And that is why I studied meta coaching. And what is a meta coach? Many people think it's got something to do with Mark Zuckerberg or the metaverse, and it's got nothing to do with them at all. Meta just comes from the Greek word, which means above, beyond, or to transcend. Now, as a meta coach, I help people to move beyond their challenges, and we need to transcend our beliefs and our frames of minds, our behaviors, and our habits that no longer serve us and that keep us from thriving. So to transcend, you need to first see beyond, then think beyond, and then move beyond. All right, so as you can see, tonight's first session, I'm going to start at the base of the mountain. So I wrote this book to provide people with the building blocks to become the best versions of themselves. This content is not so much about improving yourself, but it's a lot more about becoming yourself. So it's about actualizing your potential, and it's about becoming everything you are capable of. So this book is really mapped out, as you can see in front of you. Those are the chapters. This map includes some of my life narrative, some stories of my life, the metaphor of rock climbing and mountaineering, and also the analogy of hardware and software, which I'll explain to you later. And I've researched and interpreted many useful techniques in psychology, in neuroscience, in cognitive science, neurosemantics, and psychoneuroimmunology. And this book is really the building blocks, and it's mapped out as an actual journey. The challenge is to you, the reader or the listener, is to explore this new territory with me, as I am the mountain guide and the meta coach that will take you on this journey. So I welcome you all onto this journey. Now, this journey will lead you to transcend and lead you to high levels of thinking and living. That's what meta really means. It's going to help you to take responsibility for unique human abilities. This enables you to use your mental faculties to engineer and program a life and outcomes that you want. This book will help you update your map or your navigation software, and it'll help you to move beyond the illusions that keep you stuck in the world today. The journey will bring you to a choice point that can change the trajectory of your life. Okay, so many of you will be familiar with the 3G journey, from struggle to significance. And there are many similarities between Jasper's 3G journey and the philosophy of keep thriving. And I'm just going to add on it with the gig journey, where it's from struggle to significance. The journey of my book is to help people from a surviving state to take them to a thriving state. And as with the gig journey, there are many things that pull us down and that keep us stuck in survival state. It could be ignorance or indifference. It could be that we focus on our biological or physical needs and physical appetites or pleasures. But there are many things that keep us below the line And this book is really about helping people to get above that line. And you can learn the following. If you go through these chapters with me and go through this book with me, you'll get a better understanding of how to use your cognitive, in other words, your thinking, and your emotional faculties, and how you use them to code your unconscious programs. This will enable you to take charge of your life by programming yourself for better outcomes. You will also receive practical guidelines to improve your immune system and performance through nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress management, etc. You will know precisely how to use your thoughts, feelings, and actions to optimize your health and longevity. How to use your cognitive and emotional and biological arsenal to achieve a higher quality of life. All right, so tonight that was a bit of context about myself and about where this book comes from and about the picture behind it. Tonight I'm going to share with you chapter 1, and chapter 1 is about the biological code. It really is at the base of the mountain. And before we start exploring, the core idea I want to leave with you tonight is that you are born with a specific genetic code into a specific environment. Now, you have no control over this inheritance. You do, however, have full control over how you respond to this genetic code and to your environment. This response will determine which genes are expressed and which genes are suppressed, and in turn impact the health, fulfillment, longevity, and quality of your life. So, for these sessions, I'm going to share with you the theoretical component. The book is a very, very practical book. It's a workbook. In other words, it's a book that gives you exercises to do. I'm not going to give you those exercises within these sessions. The time is too short, but if you want to explore more, then you can take a look at the book. So I'm going to give you a theoretical basis for every chapter. Tonight, we're going to look at inflammation, disease, aging, the biological and psychological factors, and we are going to look at meaning, or the concept of eudaimonia. And we are going to look at the interplay of these factors. So first, I have a question. What do 3 out of 5 people die of each year? Chronic inflammatory disease. Now, chronic inflammatory disease encompasses many diseases like diabetes, heart disorders, cancer, obesity, and neurodegenerative disease. What is inflammation? Now, to keep it simple, inflammation is the body's defense mechanism. It's the process by which the immune system recognizes and removes harmful or foreign stimuli and begins the healing process. Inflammation can either be acute, in other words, it's short-term, rapid, usually in response to tissue damage or invasion by harmful compounds, or inflammation can be chronic. It's low-level, persistent for months or even years. So for our purpose of our discussion, chronic inflammation is a problem. Chronic inflammation can result from a few things. The first is the failure to eliminate what is the cause of the inflammation, exposure to a low-level irritant, autoimmune disorder, defect in the cells responsible for mediating the inflammation, oxidative stress, mitochondrial dysfunction. These are cellular processes, chronic negative or destructive emotions. As you can see, the causes for chronic inflammation can be biological, environmental, or psychological. What are the risk factors? Some of the common risk factors that promote chronic inflammation is age. As we age, we're more prone to inflammation. Obesity, poor diet, high in sugar and saturated fats. Smoking, low levels of sex hormones, physical and psychological stress, negative mental states, in other words, negative destructive emotions, and sleep disorders. So once again, acute inflammation, that means short-term inflammation is protective. On the other hand, chronic inflammation is a precursor to many types of disease and an early death. So whether inflammation is your friend or foe depends on your body's ability to switch it off when it's no longer needed. Problems appear when you keep exposing yourself to whatever is causing the inflammation, and if in fact there is no intruder present, or the cause of the inflammation is psychological in nature and it doesn't move on. So, speaking of psychological causes for inflammation and stress, what are some of the common causes for psychological stress? Any sudden changes in your environment or routine, severe disappointment like loss of a loved one or a divorce, retrenchment or retirement, and the associated financial stress, disturbed sleep, severe or traffic or constant traveling, fear and anxiety, diagnosis of a disease can cause psychological stress, so can physical trauma like an injury. So that's a lot of information about inflammation and stress. What are the signs and symptoms? What are the common signs and symptoms that develop during chronic inflammation? So without having tests done, these are the signs that we can look out for. Pain in the body, in other words, joints and muscles, chronic fatigue and insomnia, gastrointestinal complications, severe weight gain or weight loss, frequent infections or illness, depression, anxiety, and mood disorders, as well as meaninglessness, hopelessness, and helplessness. So, what I want to emphasize with this first section is we need to curb inflammation, disease, and aging to extend years of health on your life. These three elements work together. So, first up in our next section is the biological influences of aging. Now, there's a lot of interesting research being done on what aging actually is. And a lot of new information is coming out in the field called geroprotection, which literally means protection against aging. So for many decades now, researchers have been focusing on reducing disease individually to alleviate the impact it has on society. I mean, the impact it has on the healthcare system, and the impact it has on the quality of life of individuals, and that makes sense. However, this approach, where different diseases are seen in silos, has not allowed for a focused approach. So, of recently, many researchers are viewing aging as a major risk factor for most chronic disease, and are therefore targeting aging as a whole to overall reduce the burden of disability and chronic disease on individuals. And they do this rather than targeting their specific diseases, they target aging as a whole. Aging can be seen as a common denominator in cancer, cardiovascular disease, and neurodegenerative disease. As we age, our chances increase significantly to contract some of these diseases. So, the bottom line is reduce inflammation and prevent or delay the negative effects of aging, and you can delay disease, morbidity, and death. Now, of course, it's about balance. Longevity is about being in that place of balance between lifespan, which is living longer, and health span, which is living better. We don't want to live to 130 years old but not be able to enjoy quality of life. So therefore, it is really about high quality of life in our older age. Today, many researchers agree on 9 hallmarks of aging. And these are all biological processes that happens in our cells, in every living cell in your body. These are symptoms of or hallmarks of aging. Now, these are the hallmarks. I'm not going to go through them in detail. I mentioned them very specifically in the book. But what happens within the cells is there is really DNA damage that occurs. There's epigenetic alterations that happens. There's mitochondrial dysfunction, and there's inflammation within your cells on a cellular level. So, if we can address these biological hallmarks of aging within our cells, we can add a few years of wellness to our lives. Now, the interesting thing about the recent research is that scientists have found that we have numerous genes that create survival circuits within our bodies. These are referred to as vitality genes because they have demonstrated the ability to extend average lifespan and maximum lifespan in many organisms. However, these vitality genes don't just make life longer, they make life healthier, and they can therefore be regarded as vitality genes. These genes that they have found actually fight the hallmarks of aging that include that they mute inflammation, they prevent cell death, they boost mitochondrial function, they battle muscle wasting, they improve DNA repair, and they boost cognitive function. Now, these vitality genes form a surveillance network within the body, and it communicates with other cells and organs by releasing proteins and chemicals into the bloodstream, monitoring and responding to what we eat, when we eat, what we think, what we feel, how we move, and what time of day it is. Now, these vitality genes or these vitality pathways or defense systems are all activated in response to small biological stresses. Let me explain. These researchers found out that an organism is always in one of two states, depending on the environment it finds itself in and the availability of resources. We are either in good times where there's comfort and feast, or we are in tough times when there's discomfort and famine. So, if it's in the good times when nutrients and resources are available, the organism directs all its energy towards reproduction and ensure the survival of its species. However, when times are tough and resources are scarce, organisms hunker down and they limit energy expenditure towards repairing damaged DNA. This temporarily stops all reproduction, multiplication, and sex until the DNA repair is complete. The reason for this is if a cell is multiplying while DNA is damaged, this can lead to the formation of tumors. So, we need to go through these periods of discomfort in order to stimulate these survival genes. In other words, some discomfort or some suffering really actually improves our health on a biological level. Okay, so that was the biology of aging. What about the psychology? What is being done on the research and what is being said? So let's turn our attention to the mental stuff, the software stuff, our emotional influences of aging, and how psychological interventions can be used to modify well-being, attitudes, and towards the aging process itself. It's interesting to note that your attitudes towards aging is more important than your actual age. Recent studies on this topic reveal interesting connections between your perceptions and your beliefs about your own mortality and physical frailty and your health. Perceiving yourself as younger than what you are may have a very positive influence on biological changes in your body. Your perceptions have been shown to influence your health, mental state, cognitive function, longevity, and general well-being. So, how old are you really? We have 3 ages according to this research. Firstly, we have our chronological age. This is your actual age, what is on your identity document. Then we have our biological age. Now, this age is based on different biomarkers of aging, and it's a better predictor of health and longevity. A biomarker is anything that can be used as an indicator of a particular state, like blood pressure, heart rate, cellular senescence, walking speed, standing balance, grip strength, body mass index, all of these things the medical community uses to measure our biological age. Subjective age, lastly, this is how old you think you are or how old you feel. This is your perception of your age, and it's almost dependent entirely on internal causes. healthy behavior, cognitive function, well-being, satisfaction in life, and certain beliefs and traits. At the same time, a higher or older subjective age can be significantly associated with a decline in health, cellular senescence, a decline in healthy behavior, a decline in cognitive function, a lower survival rate, and certain beliefs and traits. These beliefs and traits, let's look at that. For now, let's look at the beliefs and traits that show or is correlated to a lower or younger subjective age. The following traits all decrease your subjective age. Being positive reappraisal, in other words, reframing life events, being outgoing, being optimistic, being conscientious or goal-oriented, having a level of life satisfaction, and experiencing personal accomplishment gratification. So these traits are all that are mentioned are all associated with a reduction in mortality risk. Therefore, if we take this information, we can say that subjective age can be seen as a very important and accurate psychological marker of aging and an important predictor of health outcomes. It only makes sense that markers of psychological age are just as important as biological markers of age. And while there are certain non-modifiable factors outside of our control, like our genetics, our cultural values, life experiences, there are certain modifiable factors that we can use for shifting our personal perception of aging towards a mindset that promotes productive and healthy behavior. What this means is that if you focus on modifiable psychological strategies as well as other lifestyle factors, this could pose promising interventions to increase the quality and quantity of your life. Here are a list of some of these modifiable factors. And in order to influence this, we can look at a healthy lifestyle. We can look at education and knowledge. We can look at our longevity expectation, our environment. We can look at social relationships, social support. We can look at personal beliefs, changing them, attitudes, and expectations of aging. And with that, the knowledge that comes from that. Okay, now the last section is eudaimonia, or eudaimonic well-being. Have you ever heard of this term? Eudaimonia refers to the subjective experience associated with living a life of virtue in pursuit of a higher purpose. If we look at the word eudaimonia, eu means well, and daimon means divinity or spirit. So it literally translates to having a good indwelling spirit that guides virtuous living. Now, this is a philosophical approach, but for us that are Christians, we can really see the similarity between the Holy Spirit that guides this virtuous living that is living within us to this philosophical approach that the Greeks had. This is a journey of progressively actualizing excellence within your innate or inborn potentials or possibilities. And eudaimonia is really the individual's search for his or her place in the bigger scheme of things. It's all about meaning and purpose. Traditionally, there are two philosophical approaches to well-being. The one, as we've just discussed, is eudaimonic. The other is hedonic. And hedonic is similar to the word hedonism that is actually mentioned in the Bible quite a few times. So let's compare the two. Hedonic well-being emphasizes physical pleasures, appetites, and selfish interests. It defines well-being in terms of pleasure attainment and pain avoidance. Short-term happiness is found here. This view focuses exclusively on external factors. Eudaimonic well-being, or EWB, focuses on meaning, purpose, and self-realization. Defines well-being in terms of the degree to which a person follows their true nature or calling or purpose. Long-term life satisfaction is found here. This view also focuses on the internal motivators. It's interesting to note that hedonic pleasure or happiness is often a byproduct of eudaimonic actions, but it doesn't work the other way around. So many empirical findings and research suggest that meaning making and self-realization increases your capacity to maintain high levels of well-being in the face of socioeconomic difficulties, challenges, trauma, loss, limitations, and setbacks. Those who sustain or deepen their well-being as they deal with challenges and adversity actually show better health profiles. A study by Caroline Rife in 2018 showed that those who score high in EWB or eudaimonic well-being have lower levels of inflammation, while those who score higher in hedonism or hedonic well-being have higher levels of inflammation. Those who score high in eudaimonic well-being also illustrated better sleep, improved mental and cognitive function, lower risk for multiple chronic inflammatory conditions, lower risk for cardiovascular disease and diabetes, lower risk for neurodegenerative disease like dementia and Alzheimer's, lower risk for various types of cancers, lower risk for disability, lower risk for premature death, and an increase in behavior in engaging with preventative measures. Dr. Emma Gilchrist, famous British doctor, stated people who report being happy but have little or no sense of meaning have the same gene expression patterns as people who are enduring chronic adversity like loneliness, bereavement, or poverty. So, how do you score high on EWB? Caroline Rife identified these 6 components that contribute to and measures the level of eudaimonic well-being we experience. There they are. I'm going to go through each of them quickly. Autonomy really emphasizes independent, self-determining, and self-regulating qualities of the person. Then, environmental mastery. This refers to the ability to choose and create environments suitable and conducive to your own needs. Personal growth. This is all about self-realization, achieving personal potential, then positive relations with others. Do you have the ability to love others without personal gain? Can you show love, empathy, and affection? And then there is purpose in life. Do you have a sense of purpose and meaning? Do you feel your life is intentionally contribute to something? And then self-acceptance. Do you have a positive regard to yourself? Have you completely and fully accepted all of yourself, including your past? So, this research interestingly states that how we deal with adversity determines our health profiles. These empirical findings suggest that meaning-making and self-realization increases your capacity to maintain high levels of well-being in the face of difficulties in dealing with setbacks, trauma, disease, loss, retrenchment, etc. This is determined and revealed by how meaning is made and personal capacities are developed in confrontation with challenge and adverse conditions. Having this approach frames encounters with adversity as catalysts that could fuel and deepen experience of personal growth, self-acceptance, and self-realization. So, by taking on this frame and incorporating meaning, you will be empowered to see life as a journey where chaos and challenges have some value and purpose. It gives you a powerful framework for dealing with life's problems. Facing and climbing your mountains will transform you. It will help you to establish order and mold you into a stronger, healthier, fitter, braver, and more resilient version of yourself. So today, especially today, life brings about many adversities. Today, we are experiencing tough times. We have a loss of roles, loss of loved ones, stress, fear, isolation, disease, setbacks. There are stuff that's going on in the world around us. One way to buffer yourself against this is the promotion of meaning and purpose in your own life. So, where do we get this meaning and purpose? It's not something that you pick up at a shopping center or at a pharmacy. You don't find it on Netflix, Google, or social media, or you don't even download it from an app store. There's no instant or quick fix for this. Meaning isn't found or stumbled upon, it's created. So I think purpose is not a fixed trait, but a modifiable state. It can be developed through strategies that can help you engage in meaningful activities, environments, people, and behavior. This process requires reflection, dialogue, and then a commitment to act. Conversation and understanding these concepts are not enough. You need to take action. It entails personal growth, self-acceptance, positive relationships, autonomy, new activities, exploring new territory, expanding your perspective, and having the humility to ask. And it's okay to not always have all the answers. So one of the key ingredients to a healthier, more motivated, and productive life is not knowing the meaning of life, but it's building meaning into your life. So what can you do? How can you equip yourself with some of the strategies that I've mentioned? Now, this is really what the rest of the book is about. This chapter was to lay the foundation and to give you a bit of an understanding of the background of the neuroscience and the bioscience and the psychology of the problems we experience. And in the next couple of chapters, we are going to look at what you can do. This includes positive reappraisal or reframing negative life events, acceptance and dealing with negative emotions, goal setting and outcomes-based living, changing limiting beliefs, increasing meaning and purpose, acknowledging achievements, experiencing gratitude, empathy, and value contribution. In other words, giving and receiving love, fostering strong social connections, psychological support, adjusting your longevity expectation, changing stereotypical negative thinking regarding age, and lifestyle changes to increase hormesis. And hormesis is the concept of small biological stresses that stimulate your immune system. These factors collectively all contribute to the quality and the quantity of your life. And now this is really the integration of psychology, neuroscience, epigenetics, and lifestyle for optimal health, optimal performance, engagement, and longevity. So my aim with this book and with the rest of the chapters is to really help people and to equip them with critical thinking skills, emotional intelligence skills, meaning and purpose, and lifestyle strategies to develop a robust immune system, activate survival genes, and create mental strength and resilience to thrive regardless of their circumstances. So what this chapter really tells us is that lifestyle changes, a little discomfort, your attitude and your beliefs, and finding meaning and purpose in overcoming challenges leads to lower levels of inflammation, delays disease, and it pushes back death. With the research in this chapter, I illustrated the following, that through hormesis, in other words, small biological stresses, over time, this can activate survival genes and strengthen your immune system for a longer and a better life. Number two, our beliefs and our attitudes will significantly impact our rate of aging, disease, morbidity, and death. Number three, that a pleasant, happy, easy life, void of challenges, meaning, and purpose, is more likely to lead to inflammatory markers to be high. Now, there's a clear difference in neurochemistry, in other words, hormones and neurotransmitters, in terms of how we respond to the same environment or challenges between individuals who deliberately and voluntarily face the challenge and those who try and avoid it and try and run away. So there are many unconscious processes that I've uncovered in my journey and in my research that really governs so much of your daily life. And I want to lift the lid on these processes to enable you to harness, to extract more value out of life. Thank you very much.